21 hours ago, Trump posted on Truth Social, that is why I hereby calling on Governor Walz, Mayor Frey, and every Democrat governor and mayor of the United States of America to formally cooperate with the Trump administration to enforce our nation's laws rather than resist and stoke the flames of division, chaos, and violence. One, Governor Walz and Mayor Frey should turn over all criminal legal aliens that are currently incarcerated in their state prisons and jails to federal authorities, along with all illegal criminals with an active warrant or known criminal history for immediate deportation. Two, state and local law enforcement must agree to turn over all illegal aliens arrested by local police. Three, local police must assist federal law enforcement in apprehending and detaining illegal aliens who are wanted for crimes. Four, Democrat politicians must partner with the federal government to protect American citizens and the rapid removal of all criminal illegal aliens in our country. Some Democrats in places like Memphis, Tennessee, or Washington, D.C. have done so, resulting in safer streets for all. In addition, I hereby calling on the United States Congress to immediately pass legislation to end sanctuary cities, which is the root cause of all these problems. American cities should be safe sanctuaries for law-abiding American citizens only, not illegal alien criminals who broke our nation's laws. All of these requests are rooted in common sense, and will provide the best possible circumstances to make America great again. The Trump administration is standing by and waiting for any Democrat to do the right thing and work with us on these important matters of making America safe, like it is in all sections of the country where we are, together with local leadership participating and involved. Donald J. Trump, President of the United States of America.
He's being bamboozled. The Democrats in Memphis are just as crooked as anybody in this country can possibly be who has either an elected or an appointed position, and they're trying to collaborate so that they don't get the spotlight turned on them and get indicted and put in jail for malfeasance, misappropriation, or outright theft of funds. There are some big scams going on in Memphis that are to a lesser extent revealed in the series of indictments that comes out of Jackson, Mississippi, where some of the administration from previous mayors to current city councilmen are involved allegedly in those things. And they got the prototype or the ideas from what's going on in Memphis, which is still going on in Memphis. There are couple of $1 billion out there that have been stolen by this bunch of clowns, and it is inappropriate. They all ought to go to jail. Now, that's what I have to say about it. Any commendations to this bunch of idiots in Memphis. They didn't sue him to stop ICE, not ICE, because they wanted to stop the National Guard, and they didn't sue Donald Trump. They sued the governor, Republican, of the state of Tennessee, Attorney General of the state of Tennessee, who is Republican. And I believe the gentleman is a former judge who is a Major General commanding the Tennessee National Guard. They want him out of here so they can have theft and death on the streets of Shelby County / Memphis, Tennessee, I guess, so they can do what they do and get away with it because people are concerned about staying alive going to get a tank of gas. It is the murder capital of the United States. It's the 10th most dangerous city in the whole world. And the next American city that is on that dangerous list, which is number 2 in the United States, is way down that international list. It's a disgrace.
Mm-hmm. Well, the authorities, right? Because I agree with what Trump is saying. Listen, you Democrats, because that's where all the sanctuary cities are at. They're Democrat led. Why haven't you handed over the undocumented illegal immigrants that were arrested, that have a record? Now, a lot of them, particularly.
Would you like me to give you a translation? I want you to discuss the translation. It is a warning. It is a threat posed as a compliment because there is 18 United States Code, Criminal Code, Section 111, and 8 United States Code, Criminal Code, Section 1324, that says there is no exemption for official action or official status or agencies for violating this law that's got to do with setting up sanctuary cities, giving aid, comfort, advisement, counsel, transportation, housing, feeding them, attempting to assist in evading apprehension or detection, apprehension, detention, and deportation of any illegal. That's a felony. And also the other one that deals with 18 United States Code, Section 111, that deals with interfering with the operations of ICE or agencies of the U.S. government that are charged with enforcing these laws. So what you may get when you get any kind of cooperation is in return for me opening my mouth in public and saying that I am not going to oppose this, or at least not Donald Trump, the Baba Yaga, directly the way they want to put it out, but we'll go against the Republican administration of a state, is perhaps an exemption from prosecution for various and sundry federal crimes. So that is the translation of what you're hearing.
From the president.
Trump is brilliant at that, and he does do what they used to call rattling a saber. You know, they had a metal scabbard by the turn of the 20th century, and they'd rattle them around and just mess with me, and, you know, you get all hacked up with it. So that's what you're looking at. And what you're listening to. It's an open threat posed as a compliment or a commendation to those that are cooperating. In other words, you're going to jail if you keep this up. So, you know, I'll give you a little kudo. It's like the clown in New York, you know, the socialists that got in because so many of the people in New York that are now there are from the Caribbean or other locations where socialism under the British scheme that was found not to work very well is something familiar to them, and they're accustomed to it. That's how he got in as mayor. And that should be a clarion call, a beacon. Look at this. This is what these clowns are talking about.
Mm-hmm. So, okay. Thank you for the translation, which is very important because, like I said, I agree with what he's saying, but there's always, you look at the other side of the coin, he's saying all that in detail, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 points because of, yeah.
You can go to jail, fool, if you don't get in line. You can play Tim Walz. You can play Mayor Bass. You can play, what does he call him? Governor Newscomb.
Yeah.
Newscomb. You can play this. You can play Chicago and the mayor they've got there. You can play Tish. You can play Fannie, but your ass is going to jail by the time this administration is over, which has just about 3 full years to go. Right. That's a lot of time to complete an investigation and return indictments with about a year left out. And by the way, don't get too mad at Pam Bondi about not returning indictments right now. If you really are serious about prosecuting something of this kind, then the nature of the beast requires very in-depth investigation, identification of witnesses, talking to them, getting understandings about whether we're going to go after you or you'll get immunity, and getting things in place so they can go in front of a grand jury. And under the federal criminal system, things move pretty fast. So you see half-assed prosecutions that the Biden administration initiated. I mean, it was lawfare, and the purpose was not to get convictions that would stay, but simply inconvenience somebody, wipe them out, financially, so they were broke defending themselves, get broke defending themselves, and you can badmouth them in public. But if you want a conviction that will survive appeal, it takes a while to get the case together, and it's not going overnight.
So this guy down here, he is the police chief of Minneapolis. 2 weeks ago, a month ago, from the very beginning up until probably a little bit after Christmas, he basically said publicly, I am not going to instruct my officers to assist ICE agents. Right?
Well, there's a penalty for that. And one thing that can happen is the federal money gets cut off, and Trump, as the executive officer in charge of the dispensation, can do that. The other thing is you run into section 18 USC section 111 interfering with ICE. And there's another little thing too. Just about all 50 states, every police agency, they say that when you take office, you have to take an oath to not only follow the state constitution, but the Constitution of the United States of America. And what he's talking about not doing is, in fact, quite constitutional. So he's violating his own oath. I don't think he is sophisticated enough to know what the hell he's up to, but he could be indicted. See? So if he's going to instruct not to follow the law, then that runs you right straight up against 18 USC section 111.
I want to play this clip real quick. Can you hear that?
I heard it sounded like somebody
Well, I've
was
seen the
taking
videos just as thousands of people around the country have, and the videos speak for themselves. I think it's deeply concerning, the things that are being said. This is an individual that was a city resident. It appears that he was present, exercising his First Amendment rights to record law enforcement activity, and also exercising his Second Amendment rights to lawfully be armed in a public space in the city. So I think very obviously there are serious questions that are being raised. And I think the greater issue is, even if there is an investigation that ultimately proves that at the time of the shooting it was legally justified, I don't think that even matters at this point, because there is so much outrage and concern around what is happening in the city.
What do you mean it doesn't matter at this point? You mean the situation on the ground is already, the impression is left?
People have had enough. This is the third shooting now in less than 3 weeks. The Minneapolis Police Department went the entire year last year recovering about 900 guns from the street, arresting hundreds and hundreds of violent offenders, and we didn't shoot anyone. And now this is the second American citizen that's been killed. It's the third shooting within 3 weeks. People have been speaking out, saying that this was going to happen again. And I think everyone is kind of waiting for folks on both sides to come together and just figure this thing out. This is not sustainable. This police department has only 600 police officers. We are stretched incredibly thin. This is taking an enormous toll trying to manage all of this chaos on top of having to be the police department for a major city. It's too much.
The idiots who are responsible for your city cut your funding and cut your police agency as a response to the George Floyd situation. Let's not lose context. Next bloody doggone thing is in Minneapolis, they may be outraged, but a lot of America, I would suggest the majority of America, is outraged that somebody in this country is going all out on a limb, getting violent and disrupting public peace, dignity, and order on behalf of some criminals who trespassed into the United States, and a great number of them pose great danger. When we get our next 911, which is inevitable under the current circumstances, then I want to see the piper paid when the hell comes out that is now been unleashed on the American public through Al-Qaeda, ISIS, Hamas, Iran, North Korea, and all sorts of people that hate us that now have planted their explosive charges in various and sundry critical locations that they can detonate by military grade detonators without having to strap on the explosives and kill themselves in the process, or fly in an airplane to play kamikaze and crash into two towers. So now that's going to be a real live mess, and I do not look forward to what's going to happen because it will be awful.
Well, I'm going to play this video here. He is the chief police of Chicago, and he has a 360 message regarding ICE, right? Because
180-degree thing.
okay, well, I just
to go back that way. 360 means you just turn around and go the same direction.
Well, 360 meaning a completely different point
Well,
of
I
view.
mean, it would be 180 degrees. That's the way they do it.
Okay,
360.
so for slang purposes, you say she's doing a 180 instead of a 360?
Yeah, that means in the exact opposite.
Oh, okay.
Has half a circle. In other words, a 360 means you just took a detour, but you're going in the same direction. That's like watch my six. If you watch your six, you're 180 degrees behind what's in front of you. In other words, watch my back.
Oh, okay. So 180. So he's
180.
Okay. So the first video, that was the police chief of Minneapolis. Again, he has been on the record saying that he's telling his people to stand down. But had he done his job to help assist ICE, Renee Good wouldn't have been shot. Because
no, probably not. I mean, it's a horrible situation. There are First Amendment considerations, but the main thing is the Supreme Court has held that borders are sacrosanct. By ancient international tradition, the border is what a military is supposed to be protecting. Even though there may be a civilian agency charged with or actually in operation to control the border, it is a matter of military significance because we have the United States Army, the United States Navy, the United States Marine Corps, the United States Air Force, the United States Space Force, and the United States Coast Guard. And what are they charged with? To maintain the integrity of the borders of the United States of America and keep all threats at a distance so they do not invade. And when you invade, what do? You penetrate the border. So we are to be protected. That is the purpose for the entirety of the U.S. Department of Defense or Department of War, depending upon whether you want to go back to the old phraseology, which seems to be the thing now. The Defense Department, the War Department is to protect our borders. It always has been. And when you start sitting there encouraging the violation of the borders, you are defeating the reason we have a War Department or a Defense Department. The whole panoply of the U.S. Army, the Air Force, the massive expenditure, the billions of dollars we pay on that is to protect our borders or keep our enemies at a safe distance. And here we have law enforcement, not necessarily this gentleman, but the other one, advocating the disruption, the subversion of the United States military and naval forces.
So let me play this clip.
Let me make this clear. Federal agents, ICE, HSI, are officers. They are agents of law enforcement. If you box them in with vehicles, it is reasonable for them to believe that they are being ambushed and that this could end in a deadly situation. And it's reasonable for them to use force based on those conditions. Do not box in any law enforcement officer. You are breaking the law when you do that. And you are putting yourself in danger. Following law enforcement agents around. The question is why? What do you plan on doing? It's also reasonable for them to believe that you're eventually going to do harm to them. If you ram any vehicle, especially that one that contains law enforcement agents, and that's any law enforcement, local, state, federal, county, and you do this intentionally, this is considered deadly force. Deadly force is anything that can cause great bodily harm or death. When you plow into a vehicle that contains law enforcement agents, you're using deadly force. And they can use deadly force in response to stop you. We need to be clear about these laws. We cannot become a society where we just decide to take everything in our own hands and start to commit crimes against law enforcement. It is a crime. You may not like what they're doing. I can understand that there's a lot of emotions out there, but that does not mean that you get to commit a crime, especially one that could lead to deadly force. We need to keep everyone safe. Our responsibilities when it comes to federal agents, and I've been asked these questions. We do not interfere with the duties and responsibilities of federal agents.
Okay, amen. That needs to be publicized and carried as a special public service announcement on every major news network. That is a clear and concise statement of the law. And as far as people are going, protesting does not mean interference with the operation of the law. That is not protest. That is resistance. Now, there may be instances where somebody feels it's worth the risk to resist, but understand what may come back. It might not be pleasant. And again, we're talking about a situation where our border has been trespassed upon, and that's why we have the military. Now, one other thing here, this man has a lot of sense, and it is much greater than the idiot who is the mayor of this city.
Mm-hmm.
This is an expression of reality. Some people don't understand what they are about and what the rights of the law enforcement officer or of a civilian would be toward what they think is protest when it moves from representation of a position or expression of a position. We don't use them much these days, but we see them in the movies all the time. Think of a sword. Most people get the idea about self-defense that in order to have a right to defend yourself, somebody's got to run you through with your sword, with their sword, and before you die, you get to strike back. You don't have to wait till they stick you. You can block it, or better than blocking it, which might mean the reply, the repartee or riposte, that somebody comes back with your block or your guard, they run you through. So you can kill the guy before he tries to stick you if it looks like he's going to. You don't have to wait till you get stuck. And the problem comes in that under most law, even if you are mistaken, if from your perspective, it looks like somebody is going to attempt to run you through and you take action to prevent the need from blocking that from happening and just run him through first, hey, that's self-defense. In other words, even if you're mistaken, it's so long as it's an honest mistake or whatever, and that's from the position of the person who is in a high adrenaline situation. Now, the other thing is maybe somebody did not have the legal right as it developed from the particular circumstances in question of a given incident, but you still did. So, general rule, keep your ass the hell out of the way when the police or law enforcement are doing their job. Video it if you want to. Turn in your complaints. Talk about it and see your elected officials, but keep your ass the hell out the way.